Evening, everyone. I'm Evan, your narrator for the evening, and welcome to Just a Little Bit. This is part 2 of our special session where we dive into the Tales of Xadia, a tabletop RPG set in the world of Dragon Prince and powered by the Cortex system. Tonight, let's get started by reintroducing our party of adventurers and the characters that they're going to be taking on tonight.
Hi, I'm Bandit. I use he, him pronouns, and I will be playing for this adventure Benetta, a Sunfire elf who uses she, her pronouns.
I'm Chase. I use he, him pronouns, and I'll be playing Vinaya, who uses she, her pronouns.
I'm Joey. I use they, them pronouns, and I'll be playing Eljal, the Moonshadow Elf assassin, who also uses they, them pronouns.
I'm Tay. I use he, him, they, them pronouns, and I'll be playing Babukar, who uses he, him pronouns and is a Sunfire elf who also happens to be Benetta's brother.
And I'm Zach. I use he, him pronouns, and I will be playing Dion, who is besties with Vinaya.
Thank you, everybody. And so let's dive into tonight's adventure. Tonight we'll be rejoining our party in Aenean, a fantastic city that floated free on the winds of Xadia for centuries. This supposedly abandoned city was destined to crash into the border walls in border mountains in 12 hours after centuries of floating free under the power of an ancient artifact, the Primal Well. It's a powerful magical artifact that the party was seeking, and they were hoping to claim it for their employer, Feathershaw, an enigmatic Moonshadow elf mage. Contrary to their expectations that were set by their employer, they've discovered that Aenean has instead been inhabited this entire time. The party sets to explore Aenean and aid the city of wingless skywing elves in their exodus, deciding to take on the project of helping them build magically reinforced gliders to help them and their livestock escape the city. Meanwhile, the Moonshadow elf assassin Eljal was able to convince Feathershaw to have a change of heart and focus on not just finding the Primal Well, but also helping the citizens of Aenean, or at the very least, not getting in the way of everyone else helping the citizens of Aenean. Joining one of the elders of Aenean in his home, Vinaya learned that the elder, an older man by the name of Nosix, was haunted by a guilty conscience. For years, he had been experimenting in secret to find a way to move the Primal Well, and unfortunately his experiments had a dark consequence. Consequences discovered by Feathershaw and Eljal upon revealing a hidden stairwell in his study. They headed down below to find a chamber full of frozen skywing elves, trapped in a magical stasis beneath the keep. As the villagers finalized their gliders, with the help of Benetta, Babukar, and Dion, and the rest of the party, deal with Nosix and work to find the Primal Well, the once floating city of Aenean finally returned to the ground with a mighty crash as it settled into the border mountains. We left the party as they were thrown into chaos by the impact. Citizens of Aenean, livestock, and the party scattered across the ground from the force, and filled with worry as after the monumental crash, they heard a tremendous insectile roar rolling over Aenean. And so we rejoined them. We're going to rejoin Vinaya and Eljal in Nosix's home, a keep. Rustic and made of large stones, the keep has obviously stood the test of time for many, many years, but you can clearly see in several places that large cracks spider up the wall, testament to the fact that the island has had a pretty significant collision. Looking over the remains of the dinner that Nosix prepared, his last meal in his home, you can see that there's plates kind of everywhere. He's managed to save a bowl of stew and is holding it up and actually takes a moment to take a few spoonfuls. And there's this look on his face of realization that this may be the last time he ever enjoys the meals of Aenean in his home. He places the bowl down and looks at Feathershaw, who has recently burst in to claim that there's bodies in the basement. Their large owl feather cloak flowing around them dramatically as they kick the door in. And Eljal behind, weapon drawn, ready to take on whatever danger. Nosix places the bowl on the ground, and all of you in this room, in the distance, you hear the faintest roar from outside. It's indistinct from the sounds of the crash, so as you look to each other, Nosix looks down and realizes that the amulet he's wearing is pulsing this low, soft color of blue. And he reaches up and clasps it and puts the bowl down and says, Something's wrong with the primal well. If we've crashed, we need to do something about it. We must recover it. As I mentioned to you, I have taken upon myself to investigate ways that the primal well can be moved, and I have discovered a method. I have crafted an armor that will allow somebody to wear it and pick up the primal well without suffering the consequences of those you and your friends found below. Unfortunately, the armor of Uxin has only been partially tested. Its creator, one of the local blacksmiths, discovered my work and refused to help me any further. So I would need one of you to take the risk and put it on.
And how certain are you that it will not turn us into mummies?
The blacksmith was able to test it himself. He was able to temporarily touch the primal well without suffering its consequences. But it was only for a short period of time we tested it. It's about that time he discovered what you've discovered as well, that I chose to let my interest drive me and make poor decisions for the people.
I mean, I didn't want to say anything, but yes. You have a secret corpse room.
Savage. And Feathershaw leans in and is like, just out of curiosity, how much actual research has gone into this armor? And how confident are you that it can contain this particular magical effect? And Nosik kind of turns to look at Feathershaw, and you can see this the expression. He was opening up to you, and he definitely seems to have formed a little bit of a bond with Vinaya. Feathershaw, he does not feel that same fondness for. His expression kind of gets shuddered. I admit that there's risks, but I have to say that the alternative is to try to touch the primal well without any protections at all, or worse, to leave it here. It's a powerful and ancient magical relic. It would be at best irresponsible to leave it without someone to keep a watch on it, potentially destructive.
Well, should we draw straws?
Well, aren't you already magical? Shouldn't you just try?
Wow, racist much.
It's just factual. I don't have magic.
Yeah. Where is the armor?
It's contained in the chamber below, along with the primal well.
And Eljal will gesture with the drawn blade of their staff. Lead the way.
And as you say that, Feathershaw steps back and flips open the journal that they've been carrying with them and pulls a quill from within the folds of their robe and is absolutely fascinating. I can't wait to see this for myself. A primal well, a room full of corpses. Indeed.
Feathershaw, now that we are friends, I must ask you to make one promise to me.
Of course. What would that promise be?
If this well turns me into a mummy, put me out of my misery, and then kill him.
And Feathershaw looks over to Nosix and then looks at you and is it seems a worthwhile promise to make. Very well, I promise. If anything happens to you, I'll take the appropriate steps.
I appreciate it.
Let's
go, we're wasting time.
So Nosix grabs their staff and follows and kind of clunks into the hallway and looks, and you can see that there's that portal that was previously closed on the stairwell. It's now gone, and you can see there's a stairwell set that goes down beneath the keep. You head down that stairwell, and there's one step that is actually so busted that it's on a tilt now because something has unsettled the foundation of the keep itself. And as you enter down into the chamber, I'll say, since you're willing to put on the armor, you're Ajal going first with Renaya right behind you. As you enter, you take a look around, and Feathershaw kind of pushes past you impatiently. Ooh, how fascinating. And is looking at the well. The well is floating before you. There is almost a gap in the floor, a circular actual well is in the ground. And floating above it is this large chunk of stone that has this beautiful iridescent glow of lights fluttering around it like little tiny will-o'-the-wisp. and they're in the colors of like that same pearlescent and like transparent blue as the magic you saw wrapped around the elves down in the hidden corpse room. So you get to feel this might be the source of it, and you can see that there's just little winks of light growing across it, and these spidered webs that seem to glow with the faint hue of power. And then you can see in the distance there's a number of armors flanking all along the walls. Heavy metal ceremonial armor, but it looks like it's definitely sturdier than the one you saw on Nexrix previously, with these beautiful, large, flowing black wings coming out of the back. Stand around you. And as you're looking at it, and Feathershaw kind of steps forward to like start taking notes, especially like you can see they're starting to cast a spell like they want to inspect the primal well. A brick comes flying out from the wall and cold cocks Feathershaw right across the face. And you see the like kind of taken by surprise, they stumble back and they like clutch their book to themselves as you see another brick come flying from the opposite direction that they just managed to dodge at the last second. And Gnostic's coming down behind you on the stairs goes, I apologize. It seems that something has caused my precautions to malfunction. One of my protective spells is, and a brick goes flying right at Gnostic, and he just manages to knock it out of the way with his stick. One of my protective spells seems to be malfunctioning.
Can you stop it?
It should run out of power fairly quickly. It was meant to only delay or injure. If you could avoid it for just a few more, and he like steps back into the stairwell as he says this and kind of like slides against one of the walls. If you can stay out of its path for a few more moments, you should be fine.
Which one of these is the magic armor? I'll make my way.
And he points to one of the ones that doesn't have wings. It's that one over there.
Eljal is gonna go across the room while like sneaky and like do a mix of ducking under bricks and cutting them in half with their staff. You know, like monk shit, even though they're not a monk.
Yes, and for that, what we're going to need is we're going to need for you to make let's call this a test. I need you to roll for me. Oh no, actually, we're going to, this is going to be a test. So I'm going to roll first to set the difficulty. We're going to say these are 2d8s. As bricks are kind of flying at you and like loose detritus, it is a 13 that is the difficulty for you for tonight.
Fuck me. So I'm going to roll agility.
Mm-hmm.
This will be glory. So a
Okay.
D10, a D8. Assassin and Moon Elf are the same thing, so 8. And then can I roll sneaking and my staff because I'm using both of them?
Yeah, because you're. Oh wait. You know what? Yeah, I'll give you your sneaking and you're using the staff because you've already said that you're trying to like deflect things.
Yeah, whatever is best suited for the moment. What I can't duck, I'm going to break. And you said it was what?
13 is my total.
Ah, motherfucker.
Oh, and let me remind everybody, because I forgot to do this when we sat down, because this is a new session for us, everyone has at least one plot point that they've regained.
Ooh, I did not know
If you
that.
already had plot points, you just have as many as you had before, but if you were down at 0, you now have at least one. So basically, from session to session, you carry over whatever pool you have, and if your pool is empty, you get one back.
Damn. So I rolled a 12 is my best.
Do you want to make use of your plot points for anything? And did you roll any hitches?
Nope, I rolled 2 6s and 3 5s.
Okay. So would you
Literally
like to
one better on any of these dice when I could have done it.
Would you like to use one to beat this test, or do you want to take some consequences?
We don't have time for consequences.
So if you spend one of your
Yeah, I'll
plot
spend my
points,
plot point.
you can add one of those 5s to your pool.
Fabulous. In that case, that would make it a 17 math.
Perfect. So you take a moment and slap several bricks out of the way, and then Eljal, sort of channeling all of that assassin's training that you had, does a quick like parkour run and like a spiral in the air to have a couple bricks miss them, and you land and sort of skid to right where the armor is.
I'm going to put on the armor and hope it doesn't kill me.
You hear from the hallway, "Don't forget the backstrap, that part's important. You wouldn't want to harm your back."
I love that the armor is OSHA compliant.
be engaged in unofficial experimentation, but he is careful. Thank you.
The armor's really heavy, it's got the weight of all those dead bodies.
Is he careful though? I mean, he's already said it's severely undertested.
Yeah, but it's had tons of.
I wouldn't call that careful.
I mean, he didn't want it to not work in the very end. He's had a lot of experience trying it out.
He hasn't.
I have seen.
He hasn't gotten any negative feedback because no one's been able to give it, so it's good.
Secret corpse room.
Don't you dare sing that song again. And now it's back in my head, so thank you for that. So I'm going to put on every part of the armor because I'm not an idiot.
All right, so you continue to put the armor on, and as you are doing so, 2 or 3 more bricks fly through the air, but the last one's kind of clattered to the ground as though they've lost. The spell has lost its impetus. We will cut from there as the scene of Eljal pulling this armor on over their robes, and back to the courtyard. So all of you are outside in the city square. You have filled it with the most unexpected cavalcade of gliders built from wood pulled from throughout the town, some of it from trees, from literally people's tables and furniture repurposed as gliders, with large palm fronds and magic throughout the whole thing to keep them together. You have made sure to design them in such a way that every person is able to carry not just themselves, but one of the many pigs and chickens that calls Aenean home, because everyone's leaving the island. But as the crash happened, people are kind of sent all over, skidding and falling. Several pigs go rolling down the street, squealing. You see a group of chickens jump up onto one of the gliders, and several of the buildings now start to tilt a little bit. Where once this was a very well kept but rustic town, there has definitely been some consequences to this collision. You can see large cracks spidering up several of the buildings, and there's one large kind of jagged one right through the middle of City Square. And as that loud roar sort of rolls through the whole courtyard, you can see that a number of the citizens and townsfolk stop and freeze and look on in terror. And you can see that the mountain that you crashed onto in the distance, right down the street that you entered town, pretty much a straight shot to the gate that leads out of town. You can see there's this huge rent has broken in the side of the mountain, and comes pouring out of it is this gigantic, many-legged, oversized centipede. One might hazard the largest of them, because there's more than one now, could rival the size of a small dragon.
Ah.
And you can see several others the size more of horses or wolves come scurrying out kind of over and around it and down the streets. You see that their heads sort of, as the sound of screams run through the courtyard, their heads snap towards the sound of the screams, and their tiny little their not so tiny beady eyes sort of latch on to the courtyard, and the little mandibles as they skitter over the wreckage of the city of Aenean.
I feel like I turn to you, Bonetta, with kind of a glint in my eye, and I'm like, how many do you think you can take down?
I think as soon as Bonetta saw some creepy crawlies coming out of the wall, she's already booking it towards them. So all right. Here's your question, and is already gone. I don't have time for this.
I run to keep up with you. I'm like, wait, hold on.
All right, so the Bonetta and Dion, you want to get in the thick of it, and you want to take those centipedes on directly.
I specifically want to head for the big bad and draw as much attention as possible while yelling to the Skywing elves to fly. Fly! Fly!
Fly, my pretties, fly! And
Babukar, you are there. What would you like to do?
Babukar is gonna stand up, and assuming they were knocked over in the fall, and brushing off some of the dirt, this is not the 12 hours we were promised. I'm going to kill that moon elf.
Which one?
The not you one.
Acceptable answer.
And Babukar is gonna see Dion and Bonetta running straight towards the centipede thingy-mabobbers. And Babukar is gonna turn towards the crowd. And was there someone in the crowd that, outside of Nosix, seemed like more of a leader? I don't remember at this point.
Yeah, so there was the older woman whose idea it was to use the hang gliders, and then there was Nextrix, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, who is the like city guard. He's like the captain of the city guard. He's the one with the stutter that was sort of leading the conversation when you walked in.
Okay, Babukar will turn to Nextrix, and go, you get all your people to a safe flight point and get them off. And the pigs and chickens, get them off of the city. We'll hold off these creatures. And then Babukar will start like slowly pacing to follow Bonetta and Dion.
All right, so we're going to treat this as a challenge because it's going to be you against the monstrous centipedes. I am consider this a hard challenge, so I'm going to be rolling 3 d10s. And that's going to set our challenge pool for this one. So keep your fingers crossed. Maybe I'll get all 10s.
Maybe you'll get all 1s.
All right, so it's not too bad. 12 is the challenge for this particular challenge roll for this round. So the centipedes start to skitter across the walls in several places and start to climb over the buildings. And in particular, you notice that there's several of the townsfolk who are like frozen in shock, who might be in danger pretty soon if you don't do something about it to intervene. And let's say, Bonetta, you said you ran in first. I'm going to say you start us out, and then you'll decide after you who goes next.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, seeing the giant monsters and the people in trouble, as she's running, Bonetta is going to activate her magma rage. So I'm going to use the heat being distinction under my Sunfire Elf ability. So I'm going to go with agility, because she's going to try to more like bounce around and distract attack rather than just like straight on fight this thing that's the size of a dragon.
All right.
Gonna go with justice because she is fighting in defense. Oh, right. Because that one is up to a d10. Sunfire Elf is a d8. Swordplay d6 and Sunforge Blade. Okay.
And I'm going to say that I'm going to hinder, if you're going with Sunfire Elf, you channeled your anger and your heat body. I'm going to hinder that down to a 4, because as you're channeling your like primal rage, you sort of like boil over with your anger, seeing these people in danger, and it's going to make you more reckless.
Okay.
So you get a plot point.
Lovely. I will take a plot point. I do have 1 in my pool. But I also have a 10 and a 5, so I'm going to take a 15.
15? Okay.
Yes.
You have the 15. I'm going to say I will give you another plot point to buy your hitch and give you a d6 of exhaustion.
Okay.
So you charge in and you're trying to be very agile and dive and move around all of them, but you do succeed. So describe for me charging into these centipedes. Like, what does Bonetta do in this?
Yeah. So this is kind of Bonetta's thing. This is what she trained for. She is all about kind of defending the innocent. She's a knight. So as she's running and drawing her Sunforge Blade and activating her magma rage, she's gonna scream at the giant centipede and like give it a smack right across the front to get its attention, and then just start kind of like diving under its head and doing that thing where I know I'm a much smaller being comparatively, so I'm just gonna try to like keep moving and smack it repeatedly with my Sunforge Blade and try to get it in as many burning cuts as possible. Around.
All right, so you got your 15. What is your effect dice? What is the size of your effect dice?
It's a D8.
D8. So instead of getting rid of the dice, you're just going to lower it. So that means they're going to go down to having 2 D10s and a D8 next time we roll the challenge pool. Excellent. And then you get to pick who you want to have go next between Babukar and Dion.
I assume Dion is right behind me, so I'm going to say Dion is going to go next.
And I think since I saw Bonetta like take off for the big one, and you said there were like some like smaller, and by smaller like
Relatively smaller, yeah.
like kind of like cornering some people, I would try to like put myself in between them and the citizens, so the citizens can run away.
Okay.
And this is like Dion's thing, like Bonetta, but like he's taking like joy in this. This is like, yes, I'm useful
For this and agriculture.
We're gonna need the agriculture skills later.
Right. So I'm gonna do strength and then glory for fighting. I'm gonna do for my distinction. I'm gonna do never back down, and then I'm gonna do my spear fighting specialty, and then my asset is my Durenian spear.
I take this opportunity to hinder you as well. For your never back down, as you're charging in, you see that there's a citizen who's actually trapped underneath some of the fallen over remains of what was probably like a market stall. So with your never back down, you know that you have to protect these people. So you're going to be rolling that as a D4 instead, but you get a plot point. And being mean this time. We've done a challenge before, so now I'm getting the drama.
I'm so proud you came over to the dark side and I didn't even have to offer you baked goods.
What was the number again I had to try to beat?
14.
Ugh, I got an 11.
Did you get any ones?
No ones.
Okay. I will say, remember that you have plot points available to you, so you could spend them on things like adding another dice from your dice pool to your result.
I might do that because I can do graceful. Wait, if there's like something you can spend a plot point on under a different distinction, can you still do that, or would I have to use the like plot point under never back down?
No, so that's actually something they just clarified, to be sure. You can use special effects even if they're not from the distinctions that you used in play.
Okay, then I'm going to spend a plot point to add both my agility and my strength to the dice pool. And I'm going to roll my agility die and pray that I do well.
Okay. I was going to say, because don't forget, you could also use that plot point to just take one of the dice you've already rolled and push it into your pool.
Ooh. I might do that instead. I'm going to do that, because then that would push me to a 15.
All right. So you got a 15. Now that you've done that, what's your effect dice that's left over?
A D8.
D8. Ooh, okay. So that actually will take that D8 that we have in the pool now, I believe, and just get rid of it. Wait, let me make sure. We don't play for 1 week, and now I'm like, I can't remember if it gets rid of it or just reduces it in size.
Insert miscellaneous plug. Check out our YouTube and our Twitter pages.
At J.
No, so actually, they are the same size. So rather than get rid of it, we're going to step it down again. So now that D8's become a D6. So the next time I roll it, we're now rolling with the D6 instead.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that.
And I assume you're going to pass priority back to over to Babukar?
Yeah.
All right, so Babukar, you're in the hot seat.
And Dion definitely looked to see if like Bonetta and Babukar like saw like how well he did. Like
Bonetta is very focused on being exhausted and trying to keep ahead of this centipede head, and probably did not see.
Question. I had an effect die last time still. Do I still use that to roll in this too, or no?
I will say that passed because that scene is over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Babukar is going to do is he's still slow striding forward, not with any of the like huge speed that the other two are trying to go forward with, because Babukar is just like, I got this. And he's going to get pretty decent distance away still and slam his staff down and do Fulmin Ignum and actually create a wall of fire behind him so that there's a wall of fire between the town square and cutting off basically the three of us and all the centipedes from the town square.
Ooh, how heroic of you. It's just you and them centipedes face to face now. Hot lunch.
Why did that make me think of like a Reba McEntire song?
Evan did say it with a little bit of a twang.
Just like them centipedes.
So why don't you roll for me to see how you do against the challenge pool?
I'm gonna use intellect because I'm spellcasting, glory because I feel like this is Babukar being like, fuck yeah, like wall of fire. It's three of us versus an army of centipedes. And then I'm gonna do Sunfire Elf, Sun Magic, and then Fulmin Ignum.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and I'm not going to hinder you on this one because you're taking your time, you're focusing, you're using it to defend the townsfolk. So like you're feeling really aligned with what you're doing. So
Now I'm imagining Fancy by Reba McEntire, but instead of Fancy, it's Senti. Like, now's your one chance, Senti, don't let me down.
For a challenge, you have to beat the number, not tie it, correct?
you have to beat the number.
Okay, that'll change what dice I'm selecting then.
Mhm.
So I got a 16, and my effect dice is a D8.
D8? Okay, so with that D8, since it's bigger, since it's bigger than the dice that's left in the pool, that D6 goes away now. So next, when it comes to its turn, it's going to roll 2 D8s instead. And so you summon that gigantic wall of fire just behind you between the citizens and the centipedes. And because they were in such a rush, you actually catch a number of the centipedes in that initial casting of the firewall, and it just slides up into this and creates this like intense light that casts over all of them. And you can see even the centipedes that are left behind, like they freeze for a second and rear back in surprise from the intense light. As it happens, though, the largest centipede, enraged by all of this, is going to slam down towards your sister with an attack.
Bine, look out!
And it's going to take advantage of, what is your stress up to for your anger?
My anger is at a D8.
D8. It's going to take advantage of that D8 and add it to its pool because it thinks it can get in there. That is going to be a 15 this time, as it's trying to attack. It's trying to basically inflict its consequences on you.
Okay. So then it's around to my turn, and I'm going to roll like...
Mhm.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if it was different because it was focusing on me. Okay. Well, I'm still in Magma Rage, so I'm going to use a D10 for agility. Sticking with Justice, another D10. I'm going to go with Knight of Lux Aurea at this point. I'm going to say I guess it's about the same, but I'm going to say taking a little more strategy at this point to try to think through how to handle this thing, and then a D8 for my blade. Okay. Okay, so there's one in the batch here. I'm sorry, what's my goal to beat?
Your goal to beat is that 15.
Okay, I'm going to spend a plot point to add in another die and take... yeah, that's going to be 21. Right? Yeah.
Okay, 21. And what's the size of your effect dice?
It's going to be a D10.
Okay, well then that's going to take one of the D10s that's in this dice pool and take it down to a D8.
So I imagine Bonetta is used to kind of being being angry in battle, and she's all about kind of taking that and using it into like charging her further, farther, faster, harder, stronger.
Okay.
She just keeps smacking away at the giant centipede.
And who are you going to pass non-priority on to now?
I'm gonna hand it over to Babakar this time.
Okay.
Okay. So Babukar this time is going to look at this thing trying to target his sister. Sorry, I just read Banana needs a D8 yeet specialty. Babukar is going to look at his sister and go, being a duck, and he's going to do another Fulmin Ignum right at the big one this time, like slamming that staff down, shooting the fire bolt of fire straight at the one that his sister is like haranguing at this point.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, what is your what's the pool that you have? What are you using right now for your distinction?
For my distinction, I was gonna use Hot-Headed Sun Mage because he's a little annoyed that his sister's being targeted. I'm
going to give you a plot point. And I'm going to hinder that because not only are you hot-headed, you're now like furious because something's putting your sister in danger. So you're kind of losing your cool a little bit.
Okay, so I'm gonna do Intellect. I was gonna do. I might do Devotion this time because Devotion to my sister. And then you hindered, and then those, and then. Okay. I got 2 hitches.
Ooh, not great.
I'm so sorry for you.
I will buy one of those hitches. I'm going to give you a plot point, and I'm going to give you a d6 of angry. Because you're seeing your sister in danger, and these gross centipedes are like all over the place, and you're feeling like it's that hot under the collar, like the flush of heat running through your body, and you're just getting you're getting worked up.
Okay, I'm gonna spend a plot point, and I'm gonna add my d6 I had. That was a 5, and that's gonna get me to math 20,
which is 5 higher than the things. That would be her heroic success.
So I'm using a plot point, and I'm gonna say that like he's just so extra angry at this point that his fire is burning like a little hotter. Like It's like the normal red, and it gets almost like brighter and flashier as it's going. And my effect die is a D10 this time.
I'm definitely seeing that, like the how the sun elves get the like veins of molten kind of around their eyes. I'm seeing Babakar having that moment from the anger. So with heroic success, you can either choose to step up your effect dice, whatever your effect dice is left over from this pool, or you can keep an additional effect dice from your remaining dice.
I'm gonna keep an additional effect dice.
All right. So what's the biggest of the 2 effect dice you have?
The biggest of the 2 I have is a D10.
It's a D10, so that's going to completely wipe out the D8. And then what's the size of your other effect dice?
A D8.
A D8. So that D10, we're down to 1 D8 left in the challenge pool. So as that fire splashes against the big one, you see it just engulf the big one's body. The fire kind of trails down its back, and it bursts into flames, sending all the other smaller ones scattering, but also turning them into like a fight or flight fueled rage. So now they've kind of lost their cohesion. Yeah, they're just everywhere. They're scattering everywhere. Some of them on fire. You're kind of, if Aenean wasn't already in trouble, you've definitely lowered the property value a little bit with collateral damage. But you do manage to progress the challenge pool.
And then it goes to Dion, I assume?
Dion. Do you see all of this happen, Dion? Just fire and centipedes and the whole 9 yards.
I feel like I take a moment to just be like, because like it was hard enough to fight them before, but now they're on fire. And I think I'm just gonna like try to like start like I'm assuming since they're on fire, they're hurting. I'm gonna try to start like finishing them off with my spear, like as many as I can, like run around and be like stab, 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 like before they can go too crazy.
All right, so why don't you roll that out for us?
Okay, I'm gonna do my strength again. I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do glory again.
Okay.
And then I'll do my. I have my spear and my spirit fighting, and then I'm gonna do. I guess I'll do never back down again, just because like now I gotta take care of these on fire centipedes. You did a great. You're doing amazing, Babu.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Okay, it's not terrible. I got as of right now, I have a 13.
13?
Yeah.
All right, so remember, the pool is a 15.
Well, I can definitely. I have 1 plot point, so I can spend that to put another die in,
Okay.
and that would get me to 18.
18? All right, so that's enough to beat the threshold. What's your effect dice?
A D8.
A D8? Okay. So it brings it down to, so all that's left is a D6 in the challenge pool.
Sweet. Yeah, I imagine I'm just like running through and being like, die! And like a flaming one comes flying at me and I like stab through it.
Yeah, it's definitely getting to be a little chaotic, but you feel like you're turning the tides. Those that aren't on fire are starting to run back into their cave, kind of being like, this was a bad choice. Like, the new neighbors are not nice. They were not inviting us over for dinner.
We did like crash into their house. We were a little rude.
They're still going to continue to target Bonetta, so I'm going to continue to add Bonetta's stress to this dice pool. So it'll be a D6 and D8 against you. For a 7.
Oh, okay. I think
I
can
like
handle
that.
Yep.
We're gonna use a D10 for strength, a D10 for justice.
If you're feeling chancy, you might want to hinder if you want to save up some plot points for later.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and go with Fickle Luck and hinder it down to a D4, but still take my D6 for Swordplay and my D8 for Sunfire Blade. Excuse me, Sunforge Blade. No whammies, no whammies.
Awesome.
We're gonna take. So we're gonna take an 8 for my result with a D10 as my effect die.
So you conclude this challenge. So seeing them all fleeing and still kind of fueled by your anger, you jump onto the back of the very last one and like jam one of the biggest ones left and jam your sword through its back, and sort of it fights you a little bit and then falls over. And the rest have retreated, stop dropping and rolling on the way out to get themselves no longer to be on fire before taking off. And you see the busted stone of the wall right near that opening shifts and slides over and provides a bit of a barrier. So now you feel like they're discouraged from coming back as the door kind of closes behind them. And as you turn to look back, you see that the people are currently like strapping themselves into the gliders, except for Necrix, who has been watching this entire scene unfold, just jaw hanging open, just as all of this happened. But the rest of the citizens have stayed pretty much on point. And then next to Necrix is Wiggy, the chicken, and BB, the pig, both watching, just like...
They're so proud of you.
As the firewall dies down.
I feel like Bonetta has that full like post-rage moment of like still bent over and like heaving and like looking around and seeing no enemies, like slowly fades out of magma rage.
And from that moment, we're going to cut back to the two who are in the keep with Nosix and Feathershaw. So Feathershaw at this moment is walking around the large stone in the center of the primal well, and seems to be taking notes. And he's like, these measurements are good. And Nosix now comes out from the stairwell and comes over to you, Eljal. And it's like, I apologize for that. Here, let me help you finish. And like is helping you adjust the armor. I owe you a great service, and I appreciate this. And I want you to know that I realized what I did was wrong, and you saw what happened in the other room. And I'll submit myself to whatever judgment you think is correct, as long as you help me remove the primal well.
Do you think they can be saved?
I've been alone for a very long time. I'm the most experienced of mages here. It's possible someone with more experience than I could repair them and solve this problem.
A worthy goal to work towards in the future, assuming this does not turn me into a corpse.
Of course, but you have my promise that you have whatever aid I want. And as they're saying that, you see Feathershaw like lean out from the side of the stone and goes, "They could always help me."
Consider it community service.
And you see Feathershaw like, and then goes back to examining it. You are now fully wearing the armor, and as it sets in, there's this like sturdiness to your frame that you haven't felt before, as this energy sort of like rushes into you, and you feel like, you know, the strength of a mountain, the sturdiness of a mountain. You would be much harder for to be moved at this stage. You gonna go for it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go pick it up.
So you lift down and you bend with the knee. You lift with your knees. It's the important thing. And you grab the primal well, and it, for a second, you can feel it fight you, and those flashes of light start to curl around your body, and they almost like they're trying to tighten around you. But as they get close to the armor, instead of like touching you, the armor pushes them back away. And there's this little flash of light every time they try to make contact. And after a moment, it settles so that the lights are floating away from you, and you do not appear to be being affected by the spell's magic. And you hear Feathershaw in the background goes, "I really only gave that a 50-50 chance of working."
Those were better odds than I gave it.
And Feathershaw, like, I hate to look a gift horse in the mouth, and I do appreciate that we have the well, but as you mentioned, what are we going to do about the corpses in the other room?
My plan at the moment was to hope they survived the crash and come back for them. They don't seem to be going anywhere. I don't know. I don't normally do things with bodies once they're corpses. Like, my job usually comes before that.
Suddenly the wall bursts open and all of the corpses come through.
I've got a magical artifact that I don't know what it does. I have a new favorite weapon.
And Gnostic like shakes his head as you say that, like, And Feathershaw in the background goes, "I'm okay with that. I can live with that plan. I think that's an excellent idea. We can use my moon magic later to recover them."
Sounds like a plan. Now, shall we get this to its new home? I am not eager to find out the length of time this armor will work.
Yes, that's probably a wise decision. If you don't mind, after you. Feathershaw like waves you up the stairs, and then turns to Gnostic and is like, "I'd like to share your thoughts on how you could use the primal well to levitate crops. Have you had some considerations for that?" And they start having like a weird discussion as they follow you up the stairs.
I am taking weird pleasure in the fact that he does not like Feathershaw and now is stuck with them for who knows how long. And like, is that better than what we would have done to him otherwise? Like, stuck with Feathershaw, probably death.
You know, bit of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, Aljala is definitely walking up the stairs, like holding it. It's a hot potato. I'm holding it away from me.
And I will say, since that seems like a good point, it's a little early for our break, but I'm going to choose, let's take our break right there as we fade away from the battle complete, the primal well secured, the fate of the frozen elves maybe resolved. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take 5 minutes, stretch your legs. So thank you all for joining us. If you've been enjoying, definitely if you want to participate in some of our future sessions, if you give us a follow, it'll let you know whenever we schedule something new. In particular, I'm really interested, for those of you who are in the audience, if there's any games that you would be really interested in seeing a group tackle. We are going to be starting a series where we tackle new games. So we'd love to get any feedback on things that you think are really interesting out there, indie new, some you're just passionate about, like definitely share in the chat, and we can add them to the list of things we're going to take a look at testing. And we will definitely be coming back to Cortex. But we'll be back in just a few minutes.
See you soon.
welcome back, everybody. Thanks for bearing with us while we took a quick break to stretch our legs and make sure all of our chickens and pigs were appropriately stored for flight. We are rejoining the party on the no longer floating island of Anian, which has now crashed into the border mountains, as they have defeated a horde of centipedes to save the citizens of Anian. And the Eljal and Vinaya have worked with Nosik and Feathershaw to recover the Primal Well, a powerful ancient artifact that has allowed Anian to float for many years, and Feathershaw now hopes to use to help regain their status amongst the Moonshadow Elves and save their people. So what we'll do is we'll dive back in. We'll cut back to Vinaya and Eljal coming out of the keep with the Primal Well between you.
I'm gonna walk out of the temple. I feel like as we're walking out, I go, I hope the others got everyone off the island okay. I mean, the crash sounded pretty bad, but other than that, I think it's gone well. As they look out and see that the city's on fire.
There's indeed fire in several parts of the city, and Babukar sort of standing there, and you can see your members, the friends from the party, are all kind of like arrayed around, watching them as they just like all these like escaping centipedes.
I don't really want to know.
But you can see that a bunch of the citizens are strapping themselves into the gliders, and some of the fastest have already started to like jump off the edge to glide away from the island. No longer island.
Thank you for flying with us. We've reached our final destination.
Does it look like they have enough gliders for everybody?
Yeah, so looking around, the party did well enough on the challenge that they does seem like you have successfully managed to get everyone organized and ready to go to get off the island. I would say if anyone wants to help, like get them like logistically off, you can take a test quickly to like speed up this process.
I'm kind of busy at the moment.
I'll say Vinaya, you haven't yet had a chance to. If you want to take a test to like help get people going.
Yeah, I assume Vinaya will come in and be the bossy, pushy organizer and start getting people organized. And okay, here's the runway, here's the setup area. Stop running into each other. Your pig's strapped in incorrectly. Your chicken is upside down.
So as you're doing that, you see one of the buildings on the edge of Anian starts to crumble and starts to fall, and a whole chunk of the side of the Anian island just falls off and starts rolling down the mountainside, and the whole thing goes, and you feel the ground beneath you shift maybe about an inch lower down the mountain, and you're like, ooh, it is time to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that's 2d8s because it's not super hard, but it's a little bit of a challenge to get everyone to stay calm and organized. I'm going to roll. I just rolled that, and that is a 9.
Okay, I'm going to use my influence. I'm going to use mastery.
Okay.
I'll use my Herald of the Queen and some diplomacy.
All right, I'm gonna say that all fits very well with your skill set, organizing, leading people, getting them inspired. I'm not gonna hinder you. I'm just gonna let you roll for it.
What was the
9 was my result.
Okay, I will. 9 plus 5 is what, 14. So I'll take 15.
Okay.
And that leaves me with the D8 left over.
I'll say with the 15, you step out and you see sort of the chaos, and after a moment, you're like, "Oh, this is my comfort zone." Like you've worked with getting people organized before. You step up and you do exactly what you said. You get them organized. I'm gonna say, is there anything particular you would like to have done with your time organizing them? With your heroic success, by the way.
Make sure the people we need to get off first. Like the city guard guy, he can wait until the end.
So it's women, children, and pigs and chickens first.
Absolutely.
Everybody but that one guy first.
Pigs, chickens, women, children.
All right, so you do you step up and you take charge of this process. And before it was very chaotic. It was sort of everyone being like, "I need to get this on and get out of here now." And a couple times people ran into each other. You've now gotten them back into an orderly evacuation queue. As you're doing that, the rest of you kind of regroup in the courtyard, and you have a moment to realize something important but problematic. You did not build a hang glider for a Moon Elf assassin holding a primal well.
As we consider that, Vinaya is kind of getting everyone organized. Can I use my Knight of Luxoria Stalwart to spend a plot point to step down all of my stress dice? But it says after you succeed at a contest with a foe, did that challenge against the centipedes count?
No, it's a challenge, not a contest. That's a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah, because you do that when you go to toe-to-toe with somebody. It's the satisfaction of defeating that individual.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
I will say in this instance, there may be an opportunity for you to use that in the near future. So,
how many pig equivalents is this well? Is this like a 4-pig well?
I was gonna say choose your next words very carefully.
Like weight ratios.
You
You
figure with the well has been holding the city up this entire time, so it's possible that it's just a matter of making sure that it's secure, so that it wouldn't like fly away or fall off. Because you have to be able to hold it, but the glider also required holding on. So it would be more of like a: do you want to try to engage its magic? Do you want to try to strap you into the glider more carefully and like help guide you? Do you want to like tandem a glider? So it's what do you want to do to try to solve this problem creatively?
Feathershaw, can we not take the moonbeam back?
Feathershaw is like, that's not a terrible idea, and I think that's what I'll do because it seems like you've got things covered here. But I'm worried that if we tried to moonbeam the primal well under these circumstances, it could have unforeseen consequences.
That's it. He's at the end of the queue now.
Feathershaw's last.
Feathershaw's not taking a glider. While I am impressed you all managed to build enough gliders for the whole town in an hour, and although, by the way, sorry I didn't tell you about that. I got distracted by the secret corpse room. You didn't think to build one for me?
Secret corpse room?
Story for another time. They're okay, we think.
Can Babukar use their knowledge of like magic things to like take a look and try and figure some things out about this well that is being held?
Yeah, so if you want to take a moment to take a look at the well, I will say you can give me. So what are you trying to figure out about the well? I guess would be my question. Are you trying to figure out how to activate it? Are you just examining it to see if it's safe? Like, what's your?
I was thinking more how not to activate it or accidentally set it off. So like, okay. Do I think like strapping it and flying it would necessarily like make it set off or things like that? Sort of like the precautionary, not the explodey-renary.
I'm going to say since you have Gnostics available and he's experienced with the well itself, I'm going to call this just a challenging test. Someone roll 2d8s and you can just build your pool as you'd like. As you do this, I'll say in the background while you're putting your pool together, you see BB the pig and the Wiggy the chicken both come up to Feathershaw, and like BB like grabs the edge of their cloak and just gives a little tug, and Feathershaw looks down, and it gives him the biggest sad eyes. And Feathershaw goes, "Oh, very well. I'll bring you along as well. Best of luck. I'll see you in the bottom," and disappears with BB and Wiggy.
Feathershaw just stole a pig.
Or at least they have their priorities.
Right? Or did a pig steal Feathershaw?
At least they have their priorities right.
And in a flash of moonbeam, they go flying in the same direction as all of the people who are leaving on their hang gliders.
I feel like that slightly redeems Feathershaw because at least he saved our main pig and chicken.
They've moved up.
And so what are you rolling with?
I was gonna do intellect. I was thinking truth because of like the knowledge of truth I have about magical properties and things. Or And then I was just gonna do, I guess hot-headed sun mage because I'm a mage and that seems most closely related to magical things. I figured though that because this isn't sun magic, I probably can't use sun magic or sun magic spell, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
And I will say, just to warn you, I'm rolling the d6 for your exhaustion.
okay.
In that case, I'll spend a plot point, and I'll give you a D8 as Vinaya pulls from her vast memory and knowledge of reading stuff, and pulls out. Well, this one time I read about primal wells. These are the things you don't want to do. These are some things that you do want to do. So you have an extra D8 for this roll.
All right, so Vinaya made use of something we haven't seen yet, spending a plot point to aid another in a challenge, in a test or a challenge or contest, by basically giving someone else a temporary asset.
Okay. I got a... Or do you say yours first, or do I say mine? Oh, it was a test, so you had a set number. I got a 16.
I had a 15, so you beat it by just one.
Good thing Benaya had that instant recall.
Yeah, that was definitely helpful. So you look at the stone and you examine it for a few minutes. All the while, you can see that little other bits and pieces of Aenean are starting to like clunk and fall off the sides, but you stay focused and you don't get distracted, even pushing through your exhaustion. And you realize, I think I have an idea for how to do this without setting anything off. And you feel pretty confident that if you attach it carefully, and as long as Eljal is able to continue to hold it the entire time with the armor should insulate the glider.
Eljal, if you're able to carefully hold this and hold it tight the entire time, I think it should be safe.
Actually, I was planning on dropping it somewhere in the mountains. I figured that would be a good idea.
It might take out a few more of those centipedes.
We'll discuss those later. Will one of these carry me? This armor weighs a ton. It's rather inconvenient.
I will say with your check, you feel fairly confident that between the magic of the stone and the magic of the armor and everything, you feel okay. You feel like this might be all right.
Strap me in, then there's no time like the present.
Yeet you off the town. Goodbye.
Another time where that D8 of yeet would be really helpful.
I was gonna say, Brunetta, are you ready?
Yeet specialty.
We all level
Can
up
we
from
just
chicken.
can we hand wave that and just give Brunetta a D8 of yeet for tonight?
For this particular check, for yeeting Ejal off the side of Aenean, I will give you that D8 and say that you have it. And so the rest of you gather together. You strap into the last remaining gliders as you see Nosik leave just before you with Nectrix and a few of the last citizens. You also jump off and you glide down this gully that kind of leads you towards the bottom of the mountain. Looking behind you, you can see the last remains of Aenean start to crumble. And you realize that you're very close to the time when that city was about to just completely fall apart. As it does, you can see the stone and rubble from the city just slide down this mountainside until they start to crumble towards the very bottom and collect near the bottom of the mountain, where everyone's hang gliders are slowly starting to circle. You see the citizens land, and they make sure that they're a good half mile away from the actual rubble of the city. But you can see that just in the center, it looks like the remains of the keep was one of the few things that mostly held together. The tower top has broken off entirely, but the keep's body is right in the center of the rubble at the bottom of the mountain.
Oh, good. The secret corpses will be okay.
And then as you're floating down, that beam of moonlight swirls around you, and you see Feathershaw appear for a moment, holding the pig with Wiggy on their shoulder. I'm so glad you got out safely, and just shoots down to where everybody else is. It's a little hazardous. You feel there's a couple moments where you're like, "Ooh, this isn't going as well as I'd like," flying it down with the stone, but you do make it finally to the bottom.
I assume I'm
landing.
piloting it with my elbows.
Yeah, you're like, oh, to
It's
the
just
left, to the left.
like I feel like I had them tie the posts to my elbows rather than like where I would normally hold on, so I could like bend it and like basically I'm having like full body tilt.
So you successfully make it to the bottom. For fun, I'm gonna make you do a test to land.
Oh, here we go.
I'm gonna roll 2d8s. It's a 6. So I feel like there's a good chance you'll be.
I was
going
gonna hinder myself anyway because I need a plot point, and this is the perfect time to do it. So D10,
Is it?
second D10, D8.
We make it
But I'm
through
gonna
the whole
turn
thing
my
until the end, and then all of a
D8
sudden
into a
it just
D4.
explodes.
So I'm rolling 2 D10 and a D4.
Okay.
Trip and
Lay it
fall,
on me.
shatter. How many
Well, no.
ones?
3. I rolled all ones.
No.
And I have no fucking plot points. Why did I do it? I got so greedy. Like, even the plot point I have won't help me here.
Okay, Icarus.
Because
Flew too close.
wait, what the fuck?
One of us can't use one of our plot points at this point to help because it's already happened, right?
I mean, I feel like they would see me coming in for a landing.
God.
What the fuck?
Are we watching this like train wreck of a landing coming in? Like, oh, this isn't looking good.
You
Oh,
have left me.
shit.
I am so shook. I am so unsure about how to adjudicate.
I was so sure I'd be fine. Like I literally thought to myself, and I almost said, I can't possibly roll 3 ones.
And yet.
You got cocky. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and reread what the rules are for like a complete and total botch. Because I need to remind myself like what should be happening.
Wait,
I feel bad because this is supposed to just be for fun.
To clarify, I can't give them a plot point right now, right?
Could we post roll say we used our plot points to do things?
I'm gonna say since you were aware that they were in trouble, I'm going to allow people to use plot points to give like an asset to.
I will spend my plot point that I have left for another instant recall.
That might not be kosher. I don't know if I'm bending the rules, but I feel like if you roll another one, then I'm done. Like I can't help you.
So
I
you,
better
you
fucking
have
not.
a D8 as Vinaya is shouting from her glider, like, no, pull up.
Eljala's shouting behind you, I can't pull!
Can Babukar also give them a plot point for crafting because they helped craft all of these?
I'm gonna say sure.
Okay, you're gonna get a D6 for crafting.
Okay, and all this feels, as long as I can get enough points to tie, I have a plot point to add a dice, but let's hope I don't need it. Okay, we're good. I rolled a 7 and a 6. Yeah,
All right,
that's
so-
an 8 with the defect die of a 10.
I'm gonna say that you were only saved by those assets, so I'm gonna still give you a D6 of exhaustion
That's valid.
because
That's
everyone
valid.
else saves you. But you and the landing is not graceful. You come crashing down. You break one of the wings of the glider off, and you eat dirt. Actually, you know what? It's gonna be D6 of injured as you like face plant eat it, but you hold the stone out of the way just in time, so you just go.
It's like rolling at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah, you saved the baby, but you have taken significant.
It's like I have enough training about how to like contort my body to move in a specific way that I can hold the thing up while just letting the rest of me just get fucked.
And the stone is laying on top of you in such a way that like you're stuck. Even with the armor, you're kind of like and it takes you a good minute or two to like push yourself out. Just because I won't punish you for my fun roll. I feel like that would be a terrible way to end the campaign. I just wanted to see if you would fail enough for me to give you a bad consequence.
The answer is yes.
Yes. Yes, you would.
Literally the only one I have rolled the entire game, and I rolled 3 at once.
So you're laying there in the crater a little bit with the primal well held over you, and as you do so, you see a little pig's face come leaning over the side of the like little crater impact crater you're in, and go. And then you see Feathershaw lean over. Is the primal well okay?
I'm fine too, thank you.
Oh,
It's fine. I'm not an amateur.
That's a comfort.
I'll very slowly peel myself out of the crater.
And you do so. Everyone else has landed, and you can see that the citizens of Aenean are sort of all gathered around. And they're casting looks back at just the ruins of their city having cascaded across this mountainside. And you can see that there's a lot of shock. There's a lot of realization setting in that they were that close to just ending up in the same situation. Several of the citizens come over and they give you their thanks. They cut a wide swath around you holding the primal well because many of them have heard about it,
That's
but
fair.
they know how dangerous it is.
Yeah,
Like,
I
they
wouldn't
give
come
you a
near
lot
me.
of
If
space.
anyone does try to come near me, I'm going to be like, don't come near me right now.
I assume there's one of the pigs that wants to come up to you that you have to do that thing where you're like, no, and you like kick it, like, get away. This treat isn't
Shaw,
for
come
you.
get your friend.
And Featherstall comes over and is like, all in all, I would say I made an excellent decision hiring you. This is really quite a victory for Featherstall.
I just give Vinaya a look like, what?
I assume Vinaya gives you the exact same look, and it just like is very much over this.
I will say, as you now lift up the primal well and you turn it towards everybody else, all of the rest of you notice something very interesting. Attached to the bottom of the primal well are 3 beautiful gemstones in this very smooth, flat appearance. They are... let me just make sure I got this. They are a deep blue, like a dusky red, and a very beautiful pale purple. And they seem like they're just attached to the edge of the primal well. And you see Gnostics kind of coming up with their staff, goes, Well, that's unusual. I don't remember those being there.
Hey, Eljal, could you see if they come off?
See if I can take the smaller bombs off of my big bomb? Yes.
Which one do you want to start with?
Sorry, there was blue, red, and purple.
Blue, red, and purple.
Since it matches my skin tone, I'm going to go with the purple.
Okay. So you, still holding it, you sort of reach your hand around and everyone has to do the like, no, a little more to the right, a little more to the left. And your hand comes around on the purple stone and you crack it off and it does remove. As it does the other 2 stones, the light seems to fade from them and then they just down into dust. But the purple stone comes loose in your hand.
Well, I hope I didn't fuck that up.
I will say, since you're there, Babukar, and you have experience with magic, and Feathershall is there, Feathershall goes to like, and Babukar, you realize this is a primal source for a moon source. It is a source of moon magic.
This is a primal.
In hindsight, that
stone
makes sense.
with moon magic.
And somebody now would have access, if we continued on, which we might, with a D6 moon source as an asset.
Well, it seems like you came out of this adventure with something to show for your troubles, Eljal.
It is better than being dead.
I'm still curious about this secret corpse room you've spoken of several times.
Oh, so the reason for this in armor is if you touch the primal well without it, you basically get mummified. Not quite. They're not dead. I mean, they're in that building. I hope they're okay. This one, in his quest to figure out a way to move it, decided to have people touch it.
And as you point over to Gnostic and say that, you see Gnostic gives like
I'm not being quiet about it.
He gives a frown and is like, your criticism is well earned. I made poor choices. I prioritized saving the primal well over keeping the health of my people, and I can only thank you for doing what you did. Protecting this primal well is the one oath I've stuck to for everything that's happened. And as I mentioned before, I'm at your mercy. I will do whatever service you think is necessary to atone for what I've done. If you'd like, I will submit myself to the appropriate authorities. And again, Feathershaw's behind, like,
You should count yourself lucky then that I find the idea of forcing you to work with Feathershaw more amusing than the idea of killing you myself.
and like Nostic looks to Feathershaw, who looks really pleased with themselves, and is like, "Are you sure about the incarceration?"
I am a Moonshadow Elf assassin. Mercy is not in my vocabulary.
Do we have a plan where, and Vinaya will like look at all of the elves, where they're going?
No, I assume someone else had thought of that part of the plan.
And I will say, on that point, we will drop the screen and fade to black. And this adventure in the Lost Oasis reaches its conclusion. The citizens of Aenean safely return to the ground after centuries above the sky. Feathershaw, quite pleased over the recovery of a powerful primal well, and the adventurer is rewarded with the moon source, the help of Nosix, and who knows, the gratitude of an entire city of elves.
And all those bug snores.
And all of our dogs snoring underneath my... That's just the sounds of the revel settling in the background.
Yeah, it's ambiance.
So thank you all for joining us. What we're going to do is we're just going to do a quick recap. I like to do a lot of this at the end of my sessions. I'm going to have everyone in the party just go through and give their wish, their star, their wish, and their wish I'd known. So for the star, if you could all share something that you really liked about this session, or something you really liked about the system or the session that we've run. For your wish, it's something that you would wish to see in the future, like when the book actually comes out. What's something you really wish to get to the opportunity to dig into? And then finally, what is one thing that you either wish you understood better before we got into the middle of things, or you still feel like you don't fully understand yet? And let's start. We'll go through the same order like we do for intros. So if you want to start us off, Bandit.
Sure. I think for a star, I just really enjoyed the Cortex system as a whole and kind of the group storytelling aspect. It opens up a lot of possibilities for just kind of trying things and rolling to see if it works. I think as far as a wish to see in the future, maybe just a little more unique, like specialties and assets. Unique to Xadia would be really cool in the finished product. You know, I know there's a lot of fun story aspects from the Dragon Prince that could be played into like specialties and stuff like that. And I think wish I'd known going in, but yeah, just with this system, you just try things and you don't have to necessarily look at a specific stat to tie to an action. It's more about just the storytelling. So I thought it was good. It was definitely a nice change of pace.
Cool. Chase, if you want to go next.
I think my favorite thing from playing Cortex is just it feels kind of intuitive. You know, once you learn how to build the dice pool, it's okay. Just what is your character going to do? Does this something that they're good at, or is it something they're not good at? And then just kind of go from there. Things I wish for. I assume when you get to look at the actual book and the character creation part of it, wondering what goes into picking what dice go where. Just from looking at all the different character sheets, they seem, I don't know whether it's unbalanced isn't probably the right word, but it seems weird to me that some characters have what seems to be so much. Like I think Babacar has like 3 assets. I get that they're all spells and it's kind of more flavor, but so that'd be interesting. Things I wish I'd known going in. The value of a plot point, I think, is something that I don't think you realize until you start playing, because they're powerful, so you think that they're going to be rare and hard to come by, but realistically, you should be going up and down in how many you have more often. Like, there was no point in me hanging on to 4 plot points at a point, so I was just sitting there being like, you know what, I'm just going to, every single time someone's going to roll, I'm just going to start handing out plot points, because I have so many of them.
Yeah, it really reminds me of like, because we both play Magic. It's like the resource like life, where you think you shouldn't want to spend it, but in some games you end up being like, no, I'm going to take my life up and down all the time. All right, so next.
So my star for this is I really enjoy sort of how just like not low maintenance is not the right, but like low stuff. Because like we were all talking before the stream about how we were sure we were forgetting 15 things. Because normally with D&D, it's like I need a character sheet and I need a map and I need dice and I need to know what's like this. It's just like you need dice in your character and you need nothing else. Like it's just really like relaxing to just I can just pick it up and play it. I don't need to carry 15 things to play. My wish for the future, anyone who knows me will know this. I want to play a Starshine Elf. It's all I've ever wanted. It's all I've wanted since they were introduced to the series. I just want to be like enigmatic and mysterious. I don't care if I have to be a villain. I'll be a villain. That's all I want in life. And the one thing I wish I knew sort of, and I'm still a little fuzzy on it, is sort of the difference between like test challenges and like contests and like where they lie in like difficulty, because I feel like I understood that a little bit more, because there were times I definitely, looking back, could have hindered myself to get plot points that I sort of needed at a certain point. And when I went into like the challenges, I didn't realize like, oh, I'm rolling at such a higher dice roll, I could just hinder myself to get points, because I didn't understand like how long it would go on or how difficult it would be.
All right.
Okay, so my stars first.
Stars first.
I really like how creating the dice pool for sort of each action seems a lot more personal to your character, because you have to think about like exactly what different combination of traits they're using for that action. And I think it makes it, compared to some other systems, like each dice roll or each set of dice rolls is really purposeful and has like this larger like push behind it of how your character would act. The wish. I want to just know more about how like leveling up works. And so I guess my wish would be like, I want to level up things because I want to see like what Babukar can do next. Also because just like specific to Xadia, you don't really see that many spells that the Sunfire Elves use over the course of the series. So I'd love to see like what other sun magic can Babukar learn. Like I want like a Fire Phoenix or something like that.
I mean, a Fire Phoenix would be pretty cool.
And then the like what I wish I could or I understood better is, to me, how the stress system works. I'm still a little confused about it. Like I know I'm gaining stress, and I think with like leveling up, I'm supposed to keep track of what stress I get rid of, but I'm still like trying to figure out like how is that working with the like hindering or using my stress versus how. Yeah, just basically like how stress plays in a little bit more, since it didn't come in too much this game. And we were just sort of getting like a taste of it.
Fair enough. I can understand that it is, I think there's that little hint that it's going to be part of how you advance in the system, but then obviously we don't get an opportunity to see what that advancement is like. So I think for me, it really whet my appetite, being like, ooh, what's more? And then Zach.
So for my star, I'm also going to go with like the more like collective storytelling aspect that Cortex allows for, especially I feel like with fights, because they go faster and like you decide who goes next. I feel like it kept me more involved in like what the fight was doing and like paying more attention to what everyone was doing, because like at any moment you might be jumping in next, and like kind of like that collective working together to defeat an enemy. And it's like less of the number crunching and more like how are we like doing this battle, and it like made it more interesting for me. My wish would be just kind of like to create a character from scratch, because I think I'd like to see like how that works, because I liked playing the pre-gen, but like I think to like understand how the system is, like to actually sit there and be like, oh okay, like how do I build this whole thing, how do you pick your different like attributes and like all that good stuff, and like weapons, and like at least for Dion, I didn't really need agriculture, so like could I have swapped that out for something else? And then I'm going to agree with the what I wish I knew is how important plot points are. 'Cause I knew it for this session, but for the first session, I was like, I can't touch my plot point because it's probably very like important and rare, and I'm never going to see one. Then I was like, oh wait, no, I should be using these because like I'm rolling like crap, and I need the plot point. So yeah, I think knowing that you should, especially when you know that the like number to beat is low, hinder yourself. Like it's worth it just to like try to get that plot, to get that plot.
Is it though?
Well,
Is it though?
I mean, for most people, it would be the right thing to do.
You still could have rolled a 1 on a d8.
Fair. Evan, do you have any stars and wishes as the narrator?
Absolutely. So, like, I would say my star is, it really echoes what some of the other people have said on the stream so far, is that getting ready for the session, I read back through the adventure, and there was this moment where I was like, surely I forgot something. Because we play D&D most often, and it involves a lot of, like, where are my monsters, where's my treasure, how am I valuing it correctly, what does the party have, what is their HP. So for me going in, I really liked the concept that the system all kind of runs on the moment, so that if there were things I needed to improv or change, I could just say, well, I know what the challenges would be. Let's just use them again. So I don't have to have stats for centipede, have stats for a wolf, a dragon, etc., etc. It's just sort of like I have to figure out how hard it is and run from that. For wishes, I will say, like, I am a huge magic fan, so I definitely want to see more of the magic of this world. Like, that's the kind of the world building and lore is what really like excites me when I own 1 million source books and read way too many fantasy novels. So for me, I'm like, yes, I would like to see more of that part of the world. In particular, also would love to see more about the dragons because they're super awesome. And if they could possibly sneak in some more Amaya, because that is like my favorite Dragon Prince character of all time. She is the best.
Amaya is fabulous.
Amaya is fantastic.
Oh, and that shield she has.
And her enemies to lover arc. Ugh.
Yeah, Amaya and Janai,
Yes!
exactly.
Yes,
I ship it.
yes!
Zach hasn't finished the 3rd season yet.
Oh fuck!
It's okay. I am
You know who that is anyway.
I will say that just Amaya's whole character, like how Amaya came onto the show and was deaf, and they just had her signing, and it was just so impactful. Like, I took sign when I was in college and got to know some people who were born deaf or hard of hearing, and like to see that comfortable representation to me like took my breath away for a second because I was so excited about it. It's something I aspire to as somebody who likes to write and tell stories, to like be able to create moments like that.
And also the fact that they don't always interpret for her when like it wouldn't be an appropriate point to interpret, I love.
When the scene at her sister's grave, like
Exactly that one.
I was here like pause play, trying to see what signs I knew just because I was like, what are they saying? And yes, I also do like the universe has a representation, non-binary and LGBTQIA in general has been really cool. Like, that's obviously something that attracted this cast to that show. And then I will say for my wish I'd known, I think that there is still a little lack of clarity for me for challenges specifically. Like how best to know how to inflict the consequences of a challenge. I feel like there's still a piece that I'm missing, so I'm not as confident with them as I'd like to be able to just like deliver. Because like testing contests, I feel like I could do those and know where we're going. But every time I run a challenge, I'm always like, am I doing this right? But I would say that that's, for me, what I would take away from this. And what I'm hearing from everybody is they'd like a better idea of how Cortex works in the context of being able to build your characters and level up. So I think I'm going to take that as an action item that we should play another Cortex system setting so that we can get a feel for how that game works. And then we'll be prepared for when Dragon Prince comes out and we can run an adventure. Yeah, so I think our plan will be next. Stay tuned here. If you've been watching and you've been enjoying, if you give us a follow, we'll let you know as we update our schedule so that we can figure out when we're going to do our next setting that's different from our D&D campaign. So I think with that, unless anybody has any questions or anybody on the party wants to say anything before we wrap up. No?
Thanks, Valentine, for joining.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for
Thank you
joining
all for
us as
joining us.
we.
We really appreciate it. It was really fun to have you join us for our adventures. Have you join us while we're working our way through the Cortex system. Like I said, keep your eyes peeled. You can either follow us on Twitter or here on Twitch to learn more about what we're doing special things in the future. And thank you so much. So thank you, everybody, and stay safe out there.